Hey everybody, Scott here with Perry Public Library, another session of Your Cup of Tea, and today we take a quick look at Zoom, this thing that everyone seems to be using to connect online. Does it seem complicated? Yeah, not really. Once you kind of learn your way around it a little bit, you can kind of sum it up in about 2 words: video call. Now it's real similar to Skype if you're familiar with that, or FaceTime, which is a Facebook video call. You may even hear people talk about it being a virtual meeting, which is what it is. We use Zoom here at the Perry Public Library for our online programming, our virtual programming. And Zoom is its own independent company, and you don't have to have an account necessarily to join a meeting. It helps if you have an account to create a meeting. And I want to show you how to do that right now, and then we'll talk about joining a meeting too. It just really isn't that hard. Zoom.com is what you put in. I know this says zoom.us up here. When you type in .com and click to enter that, it says zoom.us. It changed it because we're in the United States. So at the top of this, I'm just going to go to, I can host a meeting, which will launch a meeting immediately, or join a meeting, which is what you would do if you're going to join the meeting. But I want to show you how to create a meeting to begin with. So I'm going to go to my account, and at the top of that, I'm going to schedule a meeting. And this is always the way that it works when you get ready to schedule a meeting. You'll come up with a screen that looks something very, very similar to this. Schedule a meeting. Topic says My Meeting. See how it's highlighted blue? Anytime you have anything on the computer highlighted blue, you can type right over top of it. You don't have to hit enter or delete or anything. Just start typing the word that you want. So I'm going to say Scott's Meeting Demo, because it's a demonstration. And you can describe it if you want to. This is a demo-only meeting for y'all! Exclamation. Now, notice that I don't know if you can see this or not. There's a little red line under the word "this." The reason for that is because Word and Google and so forth, any text receiving app, they like everything spelled right. So what's wrong here is it has a capital T and capital H and IS, and I can change that by just clicking and deleting the H and creating another one. Or a lot of times I can just right click and it gives me options. Did you mean this, thighs, or these? Well, I meant this. So I'm just going to click on the word this, and poof, it changes it. So anytime you have red lines under words like that, you can do that, by the way. All right, anyway, that's the description. Demo only meeting for y'all. When are we going to do this? Let's say that just for fun, we're going to do this on Sunday the 30th at 3 p.m. Well, let's say 2:45 or 2:30 p.m. Let's do it that way. On Sunday the 30th, 2:30 p.m. How long is it going to be? And it defaults to 1 hour. Now, I will tell you this: if you don't have an account created and set up, and it's free to get an account, they're absolutely free to sign up for, or you can purchase things and get all the bells and whistles. The Perry Public Library has purchased an account, so we have all the bells and whistles. And what that means is we can do a meeting for an hour or longer. However, if you don't have an account and you just launch a meeting or prepare a meeting, you're only going to get 40 minutes of that meeting to start out with, or at least that's the way it is at this point in time. They may change that. Next thing is time zone. So click on what time zone you're in. We're in Eastern, so that was already there. And then recurring meeting. Is this a meeting that's going to happen every single, see, I put it on a Sunday. Is this going to happen every single Sunday? And if I want to say that it recurs or occurs again and again and again, is it daily? Is it weekly, monthly? Repeat every how many days and so forth. It gives you these other options, but we're not going to do that. And likely you're not going to either. You might, but likely not. So I'm going to unclick that and just leave that blank. So it's not a recurring meeting. It's a one-time meeting. Registration, is this going to be required? Well, for a library's purposes, a lot of times that is required because we need to know how many people are coming. Do we have enough supplies for whatever program we're going to be offering, that type of thing. It's not necessary to have it required. So I'm just going to leave that undone for the time being. Meeting ID, this is kind of important. It says generate automatically or personal meeting ID, and it has this number right here. Now, here's the difference. Generate automatically is every time I go to schedule a new meeting, so I schedule this one and then I schedule a whole different one on another day for another group, and then I schedule a third one on another day for yet another group, the meeting ID is going to change. It's not going to be this particular one here. It's going to be something else. And it'll be 3 digits, 3 digits, 3 digits, and 4 digits of whatever it generates. If I were to click personal meeting ID, That's kind of for if you have your own office, or like here at the library, we might use that ID just within our staff, and all of us have the same ID. We don't have to worry about the automatic generation of a different ID going to different people and that sort of thing. The purpose of that is for bringing in all kinds of a whole different group, different sets of people to come into your group that are in the general public. This personal meeting ID would be more along the lines of for a local office type setting. So we're going to say generate automatically, and you'll notice that when I do that, something happens down here. It says enter passcode. If I hit generate automatically, poof, there's a passcode right there. And that's because this check mark is clicked. I can unclick that and say, yeah, there is no passcode, or I can say, yeah, there is a passcode that you need to use. Now, this kind of goes in conjunction with the registration. If I don't require registration, but I send out an invitation to someone to join my meeting and it generates meeting ID they're going to get in their email, or I just tell them this is your meeting ID, I might want to require a passcode to let them in. This is kind of like standing at the front door of the event, and there's a guy standing there and say, what's the passcode? You can't get in without it. And then you got to give him these numbers. Or if you who are creating the meeting unclick that, then there is no passcode. They can just click on whatever automatic meeting ID there is, and poof, they're inside the meeting. We're going to leave that for the time being. Waiting room. This is kind of cool feature. If you're hosting this meeting, you can put people in the waiting room, and let's say that they join, you got 3 or 4 people that join 5 minutes before the meeting actually starts. They're in a waiting room. You can see who's out there, and then you can invite them to come in the waiting room. You basically there's a box to click, and then suddenly they're a part of the meeting. I'm going to leave that off. I don't need a waiting room here. Host video. On or off. What this means is you can, if you turn it on, that means the camera is going to be on you and your face and so forth. If you leave it off, that means it's just going to be the logo or whatever is on your computer. That would be just a still picture. But generally, if you're a host, you want that to be on so that people can see who's doing the talking. Like me, you can't see me right now, but that's just the nature of the beast for the moment. Participant. Now, when participants click on their ID and passcode if it's required, you can say when the participant joins, I'm going to leave their video off so that you can see, you as the host can see that they're a part of the meeting, but there won't be any video of them showing their face to each other or to you. The participant can see themselves, but you won't be able to see them nor anyone else. If you click that on, then suddenly their face is there, and it's like they're literally in front of you. That's the virtual nature of it, I guess. Audio, they can join by telephone, they can join by computer, audio, or both. And generally you want it to be both, because some people will have a computer that they'll join with. Some will join with their telephone. So just have both, because you're not sure, unless you know for a fact that everybody in the meeting is going to be joining by telephone. You may or may not know that. Dial from the United States of America. If they're from out of the country, you may want to edit that, but we're not going to go into that right now. Now, meeting options, there's 4 of these here. Enable join before host, which just means that they can join the meeting before I, the host, do. Like if they're there 10 minutes ahead of time, they can be in on the meeting and be sitting there waiting for me to open it up and start talking. Mute participants upon entry. This is a good feature to have if you have lots and lots of people joining and you don't want them all talking amongst themselves when they're joining, because you want to do the main talking and you need to say hello everybody and start the meeting off. Whereas if they are all talking to each other back and forth, you're just another voice. So sometimes you want to click mute participants upon entry so that once they're part of the meeting, they can't talk to anyone else. And you as the host can mute them one by one or as a group, or unmute them one by one or as a group. Only authenticated users can join. That pertains to these numbers up here. Generally, you don't have to worry about that if you've already created the passcode or an ID and so forth. Automatically record meeting in the cloud. Usually you want to do that if you want to keep a copy of the meeting so that people who couldn't make it can go back and listen to it again later. It'll record it and save it in the cloud. The cloud is basically just a server somewhere that would pertain to what who your computer is using as an internet server. Alternative hosts, If you have another host that's going to be co-hosting with you, this is where you would put in, it shows their email example, marriottcompany.com or whatever, school.edu and so forth, whoever it happens to be. And you may or may not do that. That's not used real often in our situation, but you may or may not. Anyway, when you're done, and I scheduled the meeting, didn't I? Put in the time, the date, and so forth, 2:30 p.m. on a Sunday. I'm going to say save, click, and there it is. My meeting, Scott's meeting demo, is set up. There's the description, the topic, the description, the time, and I can add it to Google Calendars, Outlook, or whichever calendars I want. Here's the meeting ID. That's the ID that people would receive in their email. Security passcode. That's the passcode that they're also going to get. And I can click show, and there it is. I'm going to click hide, and there. I think. Let's see. Do I have a waiting? Can't remember if I said waiting room or not. So, yeah, there is no waiting room. Otherwise, that X would be glowing. I can say no waiting room. This is the invite link. This whole long blue thing here. And this is what you want to copy and paste into an email to send out to people. So I would say copy invitation, click, and this is the meeting invitation right here, this whole thing. And you don't have to change anything on that. You just have to copy it. So down here it says copy meeting invitation, click, and it highlights it. And it says that it's copied to the clipboard, and that's a clipboard in the clouds you can't see. It's a cyber clipboard. And so since it's on that clipboard, what we're going to do is open up an email to somebody. And in this case, I'm just going to show you on a Word document. And I'm going to right click and paste that information. And there it is. Okay. So Perry Library is inviting you to a scheduled Zoom meeting, Scott's meeting demo, the date, what they would click on in order to go to that meeting. This is their meeting ID. This is the passcode that would be required. And then other information if they're on a telephone and so forth. There's other information for that. But primarily, and here again is a passcode and meeting ID even for the people who are dialing in. But primarily, this is what they're going to receive as an invitation. So let me go back out to meeting again. Whoop, wrong one. This one. And we'll just X out of that. And this, again, just verifies all the information that we just put in there. We're muting participants upon entry. It's going to be automatically recorded and so forth. I can start this meeting if I want to. Now, let's say that you have an account and you have on your